There's a quiet belief that has spread through modern productivity culture. A belief so repeated, so glorified, that people stop questioning it. The belief that waking up at 5 a.m. is the golden ticket to discipline, wealth, clarity, and success. That if you don't rise before the sun, you are already behind someone else. Already losing the race. Already weaker, less focused, less determined. But here's the truth almost nobody says out loud. The 5 a.m. habit is a complete lie. Not because waking up early is bad. Not because it doesn't help some people. But because the internet turned a tool into a religion. A preference into a personality. And a schedule into a moral scorecard. You've been taught to chase someone else's rhythm, even when your life, your biology, your responsibilities, and your financial goals require a completely different system. The world told you that the time on your clock determines your level of seriousness. That if you don't wake up early, something is wrong with you. Yet most people don't realize this. Successful people don't share a wake-up time. They share a decision-making system. A clarity system. A system built on financial literacy, control of time, and ruthless focus, not alarms at sunrise. Pause for a moment and feel this, the shame you've carried for not being able to sustain a perfect morning routine. It never belonged to you. It was manufactured. Sold to you. Repeated into your mind like a command. This video is not about attacking early mornings. It's about freeing you from the guilt, the pressure, and the false stories that have been hijacking your productivity. It's about showing you the real system, the one that actually builds wealth, order, focus, and long-term momentum. A system built around financial literacy. Around understanding money flow. Around the psychology of attention. Around mastering energy, not hours. Around crafting mornings that serve you instead of forcing discipline that breaks you. Because the truth is simple, the hour you wake up doesn't matter. What matters is whether the hour you're awake is used deliberately. Most people don't struggle with mornings. They struggle with clarity. They struggle with money stress. They struggle with mental clutter. They struggle with the fear of falling behind. So, they copy routines instead of building systems. But we're here to strip away the noise. To take you back to calm wisdom. To give you a framework that aligns with your mind, your goals, your life, not the internet's obsession with perfect mornings. Let's begin with a simple insight. Waking up at 5 a.m. does not create focus. Reducing mental noise does. Building a financial buffer does. Knowing what to do with your day does. And the irony is, most people who try the 5 a.m. habit end up even more exhausted, stressed, and unproductive than before, because they're forcing a routine built for someone else's biology and someone else's lifestyle. Productivity without self-awareness becomes self-punishment. You've seen the videos. The sunrise time lapses. The cold showers. The sleek journals. The 5 a.m. workouts. The minimalist desks. But here's what they never zoom out far enough to show. Discipline without direction leads nowhere. And direction without financial literacy leads to burnout disguised as ambition. You don't need a 5 a.m. life. You need a simple, repeatable system that supports your money, your brain, and your long-term identity. So, let's break the myth. The reason the 5 a.m. habit works for some people is not because of the time. It's because of the intentional silence around that time. It's because nobody is calling, texting, or interrupting. It's because the world is quiet. But you can create quiet at 9 p.m. You can create clarity after lunch. You can create focus at whatever hour your mind is naturally sharp. The real power was never the clock. It was the environment. And the deeper truth? High performers don't worship early mornings. They worship predictability. Systems. Patterns. They build lives that reduce friction. They automate tiny decisions so their attention is free for the big ones. They don't wake up early to feel superior. They wake up early because it serves their system, and if it stopped serving them, they would stop doing it without guilt. This freedom is what you deserve. And this freedom is what we're building today. Pause for a second. What part of your current routine is something you chose, and what part is something you copied? Your answer might surprise you. Because once you strip away the pressure of the 5 a.m. myth, you start seeing the truth hidden underneath, that productivity is personal. That wealth is built through clarity. That greatness comes from consistency, not from early hours. And that the quiet mind, the financially literate mind, can outperform the early riser with a chaotic mind every single time. The path forward is not about waking up earlier. It's about waking up correctly. With intention. With understanding. With a system. And that system begins with one powerful idea: money and time are not separate. They are mirrors. The way you manage your money reflects the way you manage your attention. The way you manage your mornings reflects the way you manage your inner state. If mornings feel chaotic, your money usually does too. If your money feels scattered, your mind usually does too. If your mind feels overwhelmed, your productivity always collapses. The secret system isn't about waking up at 5 a.m. It's about waking up to yourself. This is where the journey starts. Most people think they have a morning problem. But what they really have is a mental load problem. A financial worry problem. A clarity problem. You don't wake up tired because you slept late. You wake up tired because your mind didn't rest. Because your brain spent the whole night juggling unfinished tasks, unpaid bills, unanswered messages, and unresolved goals. And no amount of waking up early can fix a life that feels mentally overdrawn. This is the part influencers never mention. The 5 a.m. routine only works when the rest of your life is already organized. When your finances aren't drowning you. When your priorities are clear. When your purpose has direction. When your mind isn't trying to solve 20 problems before breakfast. The truth is, productivity starts the night before. Wealth starts the year before. And clarity starts the moment you stop lying to yourself about what you need versus what you're copying. You don't need a 5 a.m. miracle. You need relief. You need a system that carries the weight for you so your brain can rest, reset, and rise at any time of the morning with force instead of fear. Let's go deeper. Think about this. Every financially literate person you admire, every productive person who moves through life with calm power, they share one trait. They reduce chaos. They subtract friction. They simplify decisions. They don't use discipline as punishment. They use discipline as protection. That's why the secret system is not glamorous. It's not aesthetic. It won't get millions of views on TikTok. But it works. Because it does what the 5 a.m. myth cannot. It builds a stable foundation under your life. And that foundation begins with one core question: what steals your energy before the day even starts? For most people, the answer is simple: financial uncertainty. Lack of a clear plan. Clutter, both physical and mental. Unfinished tasks lingering in the background. Trying to be productive without first being stable. And here's the key insight: if something drains you before sunrise, waking up earlier only gives it more time to drain you. This is why the 5 a.m. habit backfires for so many people. They think the early start will give them clarity. But what it really gives them is more hours to feel overwhelmed. Pause and think. How many times have you woken up early with motivation only to stare at your tasks and feel stuck again? It wasn't your wake-up time that failed you. It was your system. Let's rebuild it. The system of financially literate high performers begins with a concept I call the 3 clearings. Clearing 1, clear your numbers. Most stress begins with money. Whether you admit it or not. Even if you're not poor. Even if you're not struggling. Most of your mind's background noise comes from money uncertainty. The human brain cannot relax when the financial future feels unpredictable. This is why wealthy people wake up calm. Not because they wake early, but because they know exactly what their money is doing. So before you fix your mornings, fix your money clarity. Know 3 numbers: how much you have, how much you owe, how much you keep every month after expenses. These 3 numbers will quietly remove 40% of your mental stress. Not because they change your situation overnight, but because the unknown is gone. Clarity is a sedative. Clearing 2, clear your decisions. Most people lose half their daily energy before noon because every small task becomes a decision. What to wear, what to eat, what to do first, what to prioritize, what to postpone. High performers remove this by designing their days to be predictable. They don't waste decision-making power on low-impact choices. They reserve their brain power for moves that actually change their lives financially and mentally. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. You need fewer choices draining your mental battery. Clearing 3. Clear your space. Your environment is an extension of your mind. A cluttered workspace generates invisible stress signals. A messy room triggers tiny micro-frustrations your brain has to keep suppressing. Over time, that suppression becomes fatigue. This is why so many people try the 5 a.m. habit and still feel foggy. They're waking up into a chaotic environment. Their mind cannot breathe. Their attention cannot anchor. Their system cannot start clean. Once these 3 clearings are complete, your money, your decisions, your space, something remarkable happens. You begin waking up with clarity, regardless of the time on the clock. You become mentally available again. You become emotionally lighter. Your mornings stop feeling heavy. Your day stops feeling like survival. This is the beginning of real productivity, the kind rooted in peace, not pressure. And once you reach this stage, you discover something powerful. The real driver of wealth and focus isn't the hour you wake up. It's the order of your life. And when your life has order, you naturally build momentum. You naturally rise earlier if it benefits you. You naturally get more done in less time. You naturally say no to what drains you. You naturally begin to feel in control. Pause for a second. If you had mental clarity, if your money was organized, if your environment felt clean and supportive, would you still believe you needed 5 a.m. to be productive? Probably not. You'd realize what high performers have always known. Discipline is built on design, not on forcing yourself awake when your mind and body are not ready. Human beings are not machines. We are systems. We rise better when the system supports us. This is where the journey turns. Because now that we've broken the myth, now that we've cleared the mental load, it's time to build the framework, the real one, that creates momentum no matter what time you rise. The next part will show you how to build a morning system anyone can maintain, even if you wake up at 9. Even if you have work at 8. Even if your schedule is chaotic. This is where productivity becomes personal. This is where financial literacy becomes freedom. This is where the lie ends and your strategy begins. Now that the pressure of the 5 a.m. myth has been removed, your mind finally has space. Space to design a system that fits your life, instead of squeezing yourself into someone else's rhythm. And the foundation of that system is something far more powerful than a morning routine. It's a morning architecture. Most routines fail because they depend on motivation. Architecture doesn't. Architecture works even when you're tired, unmotivated, stressed, or busy. Architecture supports you. And when you combine that with financial clarity and mental calm, something profound happened. Your productivity becomes stable. Let's build it piece by piece. The first truth of morning architecture is this: the mind wakes up in layers, not instantly. The problem with the 5 a.m. trend is that it pretends your brain turns on like a light switch. But in reality, your mind needs sequencing. It needs gentle activation. It needs direction. So every powerful morning, regardless of what time it begins, is made of 3 phases: activation, alignment, execution. Let's break them down. Phase 1, activation. The mind cannot produce clarity when it's still half asleep. So, the first step is not work. It's not productivity. It's not planning. It's activation. High performers activate the body before activating the mind. The goal isn't intense workouts. It's simply waking the nervous system. Breathing. Hydration. A splash of water on the face. This sends a signal to the brain: we're awake, we're grounded, we're safe. If you skip this phase, everything else you do becomes harder. Your focus becomes shaky. Your thoughts stay foggy. Your energy feels unpredictable. But once the body is awake, the mind naturally follows. Phase 2, alignment. This is the secret step most people never talk about. Alignment is where you bring your mind into the direction of your priorities. Not your tasks, your priorities. A to-do list is fragile. It collapses under stress. Priorities don't. Priorities tell your brain what matters most today, and that simple clarity reduces over 60% of mental noise. The alignment process is simple. What is the one outcome that moves my life forward today? Not 10 outcomes. Not a list of chores. This focus does something amazing. It removes guilt. It removes confusion. It removes the sense of chasing everything at once. And when your mind knows exactly what the day is about, your intention stabilizes. This single step is more powerful than waking up early ever will be. Phase 3. Execution. Only after activation and alignment do you begin the work. Execution becomes easier because your mind is already pointed in the right direction. Your energy is channeled. Your attention is not scattered. You don't waste the first hour warming up mentally. Execution thrives on the simple rule: do your meaningful work before your reactive work, before messages, before notifications, before other people's priorities enter your mind. Even if all you do is 20 minutes of focused work done before the world starts pulling at you, that 20 minutes compounds in ways that change your life. And here's the key: this architecture works at any time of day. If you start your morning at 5 a.m., it works. If you start at 8 a.m., it works. If you start at noon, it works. If you work night shifts, it still works. What? Because it's not about the hour. It's about the order, the structure, the sequencing, the clarity. And the real breakthrough comes when you combine this architecture with your financial literacy system. Because when your money is clear and your morning is structured, something shifts in your identity. You begin to operate like someone who is in control. Someone who isn't reactive. Someone who doesn't wake up feeling behind. You begin to build momentum. And momentum is the most powerful force in personal transformation. But let's go deeper. There's a hidden psychological trick to all of this, one that wealthy, productive people use unconsciously. It's called preloaded momentum. Preloaded momentum means that your future self is already supported before the day begins. Most people wake up into disorder. High performers wake up into a path. Here's how you create that. 1. Decide your top priority the night before. Not in a list. In a sentence. This removes morning uncertainty. 2. Prepare your environment for that priority. If you're writing, open the document the night before. If you're studying, lay the material out visibly. If you're working out, prepare the outfit. If you're budgeting, open the dashboard and leave it ready. 3. Disarm your distractions early. Turn off notifications. Leave the phone in another room. Remove triggers that steal your attention before you're awake enough to resist them. These simple steps create a runway for your morning. They remove friction. They create flow. They make discipline automatic. And they allow your brain to wake into purpose instead of confusion. Pause for a second. What would your life look like if your mornings actually supported you? Not rush you. Not overwhelmed you. Not judge you. What guided you? This is the difference between a routine and a system. A routine demands effort every day. A system carries you when effort collapses. And that is why so many people fail at the 5 a.m. habit, because it demands effort, willpower, and perfection. The system you're building here does not. It works on any schedule. It works with any lifestyle. It works even through chaos. And most importantly, it works long-term. Now let's bring back the angle of financial literacy. Because here's a truth most people never consider: your mornings are a financial asset. The earlier you get your mind organized, not your clock, your mind, the faster your financial life stabilizes. Not because you work more hours, but because you make fewer mistakes. A calm morning prevents expensive decisions. A clear morning reduces emotional spending. An intentional morning prevents overwhelm-driven procrastination. A structured morning increases your earning power through consistency. When your mind is still, you make wiser moves. And wise moves compound into wealth. This is why financially literate people seem so calm. Their mornings aren't perfect. They're aligned. They're predictable. They're supportive. They reduce chaos instead of creating it. And now that you understand the architecture, now that you see the system, there's one final shift to make before we rise into the deeper psychology. the shift from performance to identity. Because the goal is not to wake up early. The goal is to wake up as someone else. Identity is the real engine of your mornings. Not motivation. Not alarms. Not ambition. Identity. You can force yourself to wake up early for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. But you can only sustain what aligns with who you believe you are. This is why the 5 a.m. habit collapses for most people. They try to perform discipline instead of becoming disciplined. They try to mimic the lifestyle instead of mastering the psychology. They chase the aesthetic instead of building the identity underneath it. But here's the truth. A calm, financially intelligent, productive person doesn't wake up early to look disciplined. They wake up aligned because their life is aligned. Their mornings become an extension of their inner world. So, the question shifts from how early should I wake up to something deeper. Who do I need to become for my mornings to feel natural instead of forced? The wealthy, the productive, the deeply focused, they all share one identity trait. They see themselves as stewards of their time. Not victims of it. Not servants of it. Stewards. A steward manages what they're given. They respect the hours. They allocate their energy intentionally. They protect their attention like a scarce resource. And this identity quietly transforms their habits. It changes how they approach deadlines, how they manage money, how they deal with distractions, how they plan their future. Everything becomes structured, not chaotic. And that's the identity shift you're stepping into now. But to become that person, you must understand a concept I call the threshold of ownership. The threshold of ownership is the moment where your behavior stops being reactive and starts being self-directed. It's the psychological point at which you stop waking up into pressure and start waking up into purpose. 2 things define that threshold. 1. What you tolerate. 2. What you initiate. Let's start with tolerance. Most people tolerate far too much chaos. They tolerate financial confusion. They tolerate messy environments. They tolerate distractions, bad sleep routines, inconsistent evenings, unplanned mornings. And every tolerance becomes an invisible leak, draining energy, draining focus, draining self-belief. If you want to change your identity, increase your standards. Not in a loud way. In a quiet, internal, non-negotiable way. Decide that mental chaos is no longer acceptable. Decide that financial vagueness is no longer acceptable. Decide that reactive mornings are no longer acceptable. This is where identity begins. Now let's look at initiation. Initiation is where true confidence grows. Every time you choose a supportive action, even a small one, you reinforce the identity you're stepping into. When you check your financial dashboard instead of avoiding it, you build identity. When you prepare your environment the night before, you build identity. When you align your priorities instead of drifting through your day, you build identity. When you wake up into clarity instead of confusion, you build identity. Small actions, repeated with intention, reshape your self-image. And when your identity shifts, your mornings follow naturally. Pause for a moment. Think of the person you want to become a year from now, financially, mentally, emotionally. Would that version of you chase the 5 a.m. aesthetic? Or would they build a system that works quietly, consistently, powerfully? That future version of you doesn't rise early to impress anyone. They rise early or late because their system supports them. Because their mind is calm. Because their money is organized. Because their priorities are clear. Because they have nothing to escape from. Now we move into something deeper, the psychology of pressure. Because the real reason most people fail at morning routines isn't the time, it's the weight they carry into the morning. High performers understand something most people ignore. Pressure destroys consistency. Clarity builds it. When you feel pressured to wake up early, your mind resists. When you feel pressured to be productive, your mind tightens. When you feel pressured to become the 5 a.m. version of yourself, your identity rejects it. But when your system is calm, when your priorities are known, when your environment supports you, when your evenings prepare you, when your money is clear, consistency becomes effortless. And that's the breakthrough. The easiest life is the one with the fewest internal contradictions. The easiest mornings are the ones aligned with your real identity. The easiest productivity happens when your mind can breathe. We're entering the reflection arc now. The moment where the logic fades into deeper understanding and your internal story begins to change. The next part will take you into the emotional descent, the quiet realization that you never needed the 5 a.m. miracle. You needed a system that protects your mind, your energy, and your future. Now we step into the quiet, reflective part of the journey. The place where the mind pauses and absorbs what has been revealed. Where the tension of obligation slowly dissolves into understanding. This is where the emotional clarity emerges. Imagine a morning where you wake up without guilt. No alarm dragging you out of bed. No feeling behind. No social media comparisons. Just you, your mind, your priorities, and the calm awareness that the day is yours to shape. That's the power of system over ritual. Identity over routine. Clarity over chaos. Once you experience this, the old myths, the ones that told you success is tied to a specific hour, lose their grip. They become background noise. Obsolete. Irrelevant. And it's not just mornings. This shift changes how you approach money, how you handle investments, how you allocate your attention, how you approach relationships and opportunities. Everything becomes intentional. Everything becomes aligned. Everything becomes measured against the person you are becoming, not the arbitrary standards of others. Pause for a second. Consider this: if you could remove the mental friction from every decision tomorrow, if you could operate without background stress, without indecision, without unnecessary effort, how much more could you accomplish? How much calmer could you feel? How much richer could your life become? Not just financially, but emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. That's the true goal. Not to wake up early. Not to chase a myth. Not to impress anyone. But to create a life where each day begins in quiet mastery, where your energy is protected, your mind is free, and your attention is devoted to what matters most. And here's a secret: once your mornings are structured around this kind of clarity, your afternoons and evenings become predictable too. You start seeing patterns in your day. You recognize energy leaks before they happen. You begin designing life in blocks of intention, rather than bursts of reaction. Productivity is no longer an exhausting race, it becomes a natural flow. This is what financial literacy really teaches us. Not spreadsheets or budgets alone, but self-mastery. Knowing your numbers doesn't just prevent mistakes, it reduces anxiety. It creates freedom. It allows you to think strategically instead of reactively. And when your mornings are free from chaos, when your mind starts calm, your money decisions, the real decisions that compound into wealth, happen naturally, effortlessly, with clarity. Pause again. Ask yourself, what is one step you could take tonight to make tomorrow feel calmer? One small action to reduce friction. One number clarified. One distraction removed. That single step, repeated over time, compounds far more than waking up at 5 a.m. ever could. And this is where we reach the emotional climax, the realization that the lie we've been sold is not about time. It's about control. About fear. About external validation masquerading as discipline. The moment you claim control over your mind, your priorities, and your finances, you step beyond the myth. You step into the reality where success is a system, not a schedule. Your mornings will no longer be a test of willpower. They become a reflection of your mastery. Your calm power. Your identity as someone who does not chase illusions, but designs reality. The quiet strength that builds wealth, focus, and freedom without forcing yourself into impossible molds. Imagine standing at your desk tomorrow, not because the clock says you should be awake, but because your system has prepared you. Your environment is supportive. Your mind is calm. Your priorities are clear. Your money is in order. You feel in control, empowered, present, and ready to act decisively. This is the true morning habit. The habit of clarity. The habit of design. The habit of identity. Not the habit of an arbitrary hour. And once you experience this, you'll see everything else, early alarms, Instagram routines, productivity hacks, are just noise. So, take a deep breath. Let this settle. Recognize the freedom in knowing that the power was never in the clock. It was in the structure you can build for yourself. In the calm mastery, you can claim over your mind, your energy, and your money. And when you carry this clarity forward, everything changes. Your decisions improve. Your focus intensifies. Your productivity grows. Your financial life stabilizes. Your identity solidifies. Your mornings, and by extension your life, become a reflection of who you truly are, not what you've been told to imitate. Now, let's close this reflection with one final insight. The clock never defines your power. Your system, your clarity, and your identity do. And the most successful people on the planet know this. They rise not to impress, but to execute. They act not out of pressure, but out of control. They build not routines, but momentum. As we draw this journey to a close, let your mind rest in the stillness of what you've learned. The 5 a.m. habit was never the point. The point was the illusion it created, the pressure, the comparison, the guilt. And now that illusion is gone, you are free to rise into a life that serves you. Picture your mornings not as a battlefield, but as a sanctuary. A place where your mind, body, and money are aligned. Where your actions are deliberate. Where clarity reigns. Where each small step compounds silently, building momentum that will carry through the weeks, months, and years ahead. The emotional truth is simple. Freedom begins with control. Control over your environment, your priorities, your decisions, and your finances. Once you have that control, nothing outside can dictate your energy. Nothing arbitrary, not an alarm clock, not a viral trend, not anyone else's standards, can sway your focus. You are the steward of your life. You are the architect of your mornings. You are the guardian of your identity. Remember, clarity is more powerful than habit. Alignment is more valuable than effort. Systems outperform motivation. Identity outlasts willpower. Take a quiet moment to visualize this. The sun rises, but you are not rushing. You move with intention. You know what matters. You know what to ignore. You move with calm power. Every financial decision, every task, every thought flows through the filter of deliberate focus. You are no longer reacting. You are leading. You are composing the rhythm of your life. This is your emotional climax. The moment where you understand that the lie of the 5 a.m. habit cannot compete with the truth of self-directed living. The power was never in the alarm, never in the aesthetics, never in imitation. It was in designing your system, your environment, and your mind to work with you, not against you. As the sun rises higher, carry this clarity into the day. Write down your priorities. Arrange your space. Manage your finances. Protect your energy. Initiate action. Step confidently into the flow of your life, knowing that true productivity and wealth do not depend on arbitrary hours. They depend on your identity, your choices, and your structure. And as we close, remember this. Your mornings, your money, and your mind are not tests to pass. They are tools to shape your life. Build them wisely. Protect them fiercely. And rise every day with calm mastery. Follow the Vault Mind, where we master money, mindset, and time. If this reflection brought you a moment of clarity today, leave a comment with one small action you'll take this week. Let us know how you'll reclaim your mornings, your focus, and your energy. And if you're serious about building your own path to financial freedom, join us on this journey by subscribing. The path can feel solitary, but it doesn't have to be. Let's build accountability together.